I gravitated, it's hard for me not to get emotional about this. I typically gravitated to the kids who didn't have anybody gravitating to them. And that was oftentimes because maybe they had something that, was very visible that, you were uncomfortable with. But I knew that, the purpose of our visit was to visit with these kids and these adults. And so that was my thing. I went to the kids who didn't have someone with them. And, so again, I realized that was just something that I was good at, I felt like, and I was passionate about it.
Are you ready to step up your game? Do you want to form the habits required to take your hustle to the next level? You're in the right place. We've been where you are and know that getting to your optimized next level doesn't happen by accident.
Welcome to the Next Level Hustle podcast. Each week, we sit down with experts, entrepreneurs, and people at the top of their game to help you discover how to accelerate what you've already been doing with excellence and speed to find success and fulfillment in every area of your life. I'm your host, Boomer Allred.
And I'm also your host, John Wiesahan.
This is going to be Next Level.
Welcome again, and thanks for joining us here at the Next Level Hustle podcast. I am John, your co-host.
And I'm Boomer, your co-host. And we welcome Chad Coltrane, CEO and president of Victory Junction Camp. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Chad. We'll get going. Boomer, if you don't mind, just give our audience a little bit about Chad and what we're going to talk about today, and maybe a little teaser about what Chad's got going on in the next couple of weeks. I think that'd be really cool.
Sure. So one of the reasons why Chad and I are connected, I'll tee this up. The last 20 years, I've volunteered my time as a cameraman to help the sponsors and marketing for the Kyle Petty charity ride across America. Kyle Petty does a motorcycle ride with about 125 motorcycles and probably 200 people all with all the extra folks that help with the ride.
200 bikes?
About 125, and then you have support staff. A lot of hogs. Absolutely. And so you imagine we go from point to point across the country and raise money and awareness for Victory Junction camp up in Random in North Carolina. And so 20 years ago, I started doing this, and now they're an extended family of mine. And Chad, you run the camp, you have a great team up there. And one of the coolest things about Victory Junction that I feel, and you can tell me more, it's a camp for special needs kids. And just the fact that they get to do the things that kids that are in their predicament don't get to do, right? So a lot of people are like, oh, that person can't do this because they have asthma. Well, that's not the case. Like, you can't swim because you have sickle cell anemia. Well, that's not the case. Like, they can fish, they can zip line in wheelchairs, they can ride horses. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing opportunity. That's just from an outsider's perspective, right? So Chad, kind of get us caught up to date, and then we'd love to go deeper into where you came from and what got you where you are.
Yeah. So again, thanks for having me, and especially the chance to talk about camp. And it's a special place. And it is a place where kids with serious medical conditions, chronic illnesses, can just be a kid. They can forget about that illness and come to camp and try new things and build self-confidence and build resiliency and do all the things that you talked about. And that's what makes it special. We call that camp magic, but that magic is intentional. So we're a year-round camp that provides life-changing camp experiences for kids 6 to 16 years of age, free of charge. And so these kids who are saddled with, and their families who are saddled with so many expenses to take care of their needs, camp shouldn't be one of those expenses. So it's free of charge, thanks to the Kyle Petty charity ride and our many donors across the country. But the kids come to camp. They're put into cabins, in the summer camp setting. They're put into cabins with other kids who are like them, who have a similar illness. And there's great, again, intentionality in that, because some kids come to camp. In fact, I've got right here next to me, I've got a letter from a mom, and it says, the first sentence in the letter says, "Thank you for saving my son's life." And Victory Junction didn't save his life. It's the other kids in his cabin. And so let me finish that thought is so we put kids who think they're all alone in the world with this medical condition, and they get put into a cabin with 7 other boys their age that have the same medical condition. And they realize, I'm not alone in this world with this. And they can, and they're going to learn so much more from each other than they will from me or from a counselor or from a volunteer. And so this child in particular didn't want to exercise, eat healthy, or check his blood. He had diabetes. He didn't want to do that because no one else in his class at school was doing that. So that made him different. So he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to be different. So he comes to camp and he realizes that there are other kids who are more advanced in their self-care. And he realized, I need to do this to take care of myself. And so he comes home. He doesn't even get home. Actually, Mom picks him up and says, hey, how was camp? And he says, Mom, I want to start checking my blood and exercise and eating healthy. And she's like, I think I picked up the wrong child. She in fact, in her letter goes on to talk about how she needed to do a U-turn and bring the child back because she was afraid she picked up the wrong kid. And so that's the magic of camp, and the magic is just allowing kids to be kids, to make friends, and to give them a chance to explore and to do new things. We want to provide those experiences to everyone, to every child. Every child deserves a chance to go to camp. Kyle Petty says it best. We want to serve the sickest of the sick. And so, in fact, there have been times where we have modified our entire program to allow a single child to come to camp for one day during the summertime because he's only got 30 days to live. And that's his wish. His make-a-wish is to be able to come to camp. And so we'll do whatever we got to do to serve that child or any other child. And so that's really the special nature of camp. It's not just a Victory Junction thing. That's a camp thing. And so, I'm blessed to be able to be here and to be a part of it. It's a fantastic place. I should say, so we do summer camp. We do family weekends in the spring and fall. In fact, we have a family weekend going to be here today, starting today and ends on Sunday. And then we also have an outreach program where we take camp activities to bedsides as well as playrooms in all the pediatric hospitals in North Carolina, South Carolina, and now we've started into Virginia as well.
That's amazing. So just remind our audience one time what the name of the camp is.
So it's Victory Junction.
Victory Junction, and the website that they could go to check it out?
Yes, so you can check us out at victoryjunction.org, O-R-G.
Okay, thanks for that. I mean, that's an incredible thing you guys are doing. It's been 20 years, you said?
It is 19 years. We'll be celebrating our 20th year next year. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you said something that really sparked my interest. And, with everything that you do in life, professionally, when you do it with intention, right, it brings a whole nother level of care to whatever act that you might be doing at that time. Clearly, you don't do this alone. You have an incredible team around you, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. Believe me, no one would show up if it was just me here. I promise you.
So that goes without saying, but how have you as a leader, and it's okay to, talk about yourself here for a minute because, it starts here sometimes. How have you as a leader poured intention down to your team to make sure that they execute with that same level of intention and care every single day?
Wow. Yeah, I think everything we do, first of all, management is a big part of that, and support. And I think support is a big part of management. And so I think we intentionally, one of the things we talk about a lot here is supporting your camper. I'm not working hands-on with the campers, but I'm intentionally working with my direct reports, and those direct reports are working with their direct reports, and eventually you're going to get to the camper. And we do that very intentionally. And so I'm supporting my direct reports in order to make them the best version of themselves. And then they're doing the same thing on down the line. And when we get to campers, that's going to provide an incredible camp experience for those campers. And so I think that's one of the things that we intentionally do is we intentionally manage. But a big part of that management is really supporting. And my role for our, as it goes down to really the operations team is through our chief operating officer. And really, I give him the credit to this idea of your camper. He's my camper. So as we have folks come into the organization, we talk about, your role. And eventually the camper is going to benefit from that. I would love nothing more than spend every single day working with campers. I mean, that's why I got into nonprofit and into this work. But as you age and evolve and grow into different positions, as CEO, my role is not to provide, had an old boss at the Y many years ago. He said, Chad, you're the most expensive child care provider in the world right now, and so that was his way of telling me to get out of the program and get it to the level that I needed to be. And so I think that's one of the things that we do with intentionality is really supporting the people we're supposed to be supporting.
Yeah, and I think you said that beautifully. We recently, just to share a little story on that topic, we recently edited some of our core values as an organization. And we actually, we've always had 5. And we decided to add a 6th because we thought it was so critical. And, we have a lot. It's like automate and simplify, next level hustle. We have, more core values. But one we added, I thought was really neat. This concept of team. And, it was like, we thought of like team, not me, all this kind of stuff, because we truly live by it. Like we hire, we fire, we lead by all of our core values as a business. And the one we added was team, but it's T.E.A.M. And together, everyone achieves more. And when you work together as a unified team, just like you described with your direct reports and their direct reports, you're able to achieve a level of intention to pour down into what you're actually operating. And, for you, you're operating an incredible camp that changes lives. And of course, they, I'm sure, pour back into the staff to just fuel that even further, right? And their love and their excitement about being there and everything that they do as well. So it's really, really cool to hear you say that.
Yeah, and I love what you're talking about when you talk about values and culture. That's certainly something that we've done under my leadership here is discovered our values and lived by them. And in fact, I always use the term, one of the terms from good to great. And, just talking about the people on the bus, you got to have the right people on the bus and the right seats on the bus. And actually, as we were discovering our values, I had a team member come to me and say, you know what, Chad, it's time for me to get off the bus. The reason why she knew she couldn't live up to the values. And that was great for her and great for us. I mean, it's the way it's supposed to be. And so culture is important, and I think values are a big part of creating that culture. I really do. So that's something that's really important to me, and something that we really strive to work on here is our culture, and we do a lot of that through our values.
Yep. And so, do you see the difference when you talk to CEOs from regular businesses versus a nonprofit when you start investigating your values or how you want to run the company? Do you see differences in that, or is it pretty much just like running a company?
Yeah, I think there's a misnomer in nonprofits that nonprofits are just this thing that's much different than the business world. But if nonprofits didn't make money, we wouldn't be in business. There would be no nonprofits, and so I don't think there's any difference, Boomer. I really don't. I think that it doesn't matter. Business is in business for whatever reason, and whether it's selling widgets or if it's providing camp experiences, right? I think it's one and the same. I think they're the same for a nonprofit as it would be any other business. I'm a big football guy. I'm a big coach guy, and I look at teams, and I'm unfortunately have to say that I'm a Cowboys fan. And, it's been a long century for us Cowboys fans. And I believe there's a culture issue going on down there in Dallas. You know what I mean? So I just think business in general, nonprofits, for-profits, football teams, whatever, I think culture is a big part of that. And leadership in that culture is a big part of that.
So, Chad, I've known you for about 5 years, maybe?
I first did the ride in 2016, I guess it was.
Yeah. So, we've known each other by working next to each other. Like Chad comes out on the ride and he'll do, like he said, he's in the field doing the work. We stop at a local, gas station load up the motorcycles with gas. Imagine 125 motorcycles going through a gas stop. And Chad will be out there helping hold the autograph sign as the, Richard and Kyle Petty and our celebrities go through and sign autographs for the local folks that came out to support. I don't see anything that's beneath him. But I'd like to know, Chad, what is your background? You said you're a Cowboys fan. That's interesting to me. But, you have other athletic endeavors as well. Like, tell me a little bit about that background and how you use that kind of going forward today.
Yeah, I got into nonprofit through my college fraternity. I was introduced to philanthropy through Pi Kappa Phi fraternity. So I'm a member of Pi Kappa Phi. And, our philanthropy was an organization. It's called the Ability Experience, and it's an organization that serves people with disabilities. And so that was my intro to that. I pushed a wheelchair from Elon College to University of North Carolina, Greensboro, where I went, and didn't really know why I did that. But eventually I got involved in a bicycle ride. So the philanthropy did a bicycle ride. It's a cross-country ride. It's from San Francisco. Actually, I had 3 places: Seattle, San Francisco, and Long Beach, California. And, I participated in that ride as an undergraduate. So, and I did that for the athletic endeavor. To be completely honest, I'm like, I want to say that I rode my bike across the country. Look at me, Mr. Macho, right? That was the reason I did it. But really, 2 weeks in, having interactions with people with disabilities, I felt like I had a knack for it. I enjoyed it. I walked into a room, and I had team members tell me this. We walked into a room and guys would gravitate to people who they felt comfortable gravitating to. I gravitated. It's hard for me not to get emotional about this. I typically gravitated to the kids who didn't have anybody gravitating to them. And that was oftentimes because maybe they had something that, was very visible that, you were uncomfortable with. But I knew that, the purpose of our visit was we called them friendship visits. The purpose of our visit was to visit with these kids and these adults. And so that was my thing. I went to the kids who didn't have someone with them. And, so again, I realized that was just something that I was good at, I felt like, and I was passionate about it. And, so that led me to I worked for that organization for a couple of years, kind of like I would consider that Peace Corps work at that point in time. When I graduated college, I worked for the Ability Experience for 2 years, traveling the country, trying to encourage college students to get involved in these programs, as well as just trying to help them fundraise and find volunteer opportunities. That, led to, I went to work for the Y for a few years. I left there, went for the work for the Y. Really, the Y cemented my career in nonprofit. I really had a friend and a mentor who really led me into the administration side of nonprofit work, if you will. And then that led, I got called back to the Ability Experience, and I was executive director of the CEO for the Ability Experience for 17 years. And then that led me, there was a call for this job at Victory Junction, and that led me to Victory Junction. So really my passion for nonprofit was discovered by a cross-country bicycle ride on behalf of people with disabilities back when I was a college student. So, that's kind of what led me to where I am now.
So this has been really, I say this loosely, but a lifelong journey.
Most definitely. Yeah. I still tell people I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I'm still on the journey. I would say I'm most definitely still on the journey. I would just say, this, next level podcast. I mean, I think you're always on the journey. You're always trying to improve yourself. You're always trying to figure out how you can be the better version of yourself tomorrow than you were today. I tell guys that all the time. You'll be a better manager tomorrow than you are today, and you'll be a far better manager next month than you were this month.
As long as you're willing to put in the work and recognize that you have to be malleable, right? Like you have to be able to be taught. You have to be able to be self-aware on where you need to improve in certain areas. And clearly you have a huge passion for what you do. I mean, it's evident. And I'm sure, the listeners can tell that as well. It's when you're doing what you love, you never work a day in your life. It's funny, like my next question to you, and it's funny, I pivoted. My next question to you is, what do you do for fun? I think you're doing what you do for fun. for work.
Don't tell the board of directors this, but yeah, I would stay here all the time and work here all the time. It is. Well, and to seriously answer your question, because I do, I use the quote, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's certainly what I think folks should do, is they should seek what they love and find a way to work in that. So most definitely. But what I do for fun, I love my family, so I have 2 kids in college now. I enjoy being an empty nester more than my wife does. I guess that's a testament to how good she is and how bad I am. But, so I do, we do quite a bit around the house and a lot of family type stuff. But I like still to do things athletic. I'm big about taking care of myself. I don't think I can take care of others unless I'm taking care of myself first. And I feel better about myself when I'm exercising, running, cycling, those types of things. I think that's important for me, especially at my age. But it's those things are important for me to feel good about myself, and then come to work, and as I mentioned before, supporting other people. I don't feel like there's a reason when you're on an airplane, when the oxygen mask falls, that you're supposed to put the oxygen on you first and then assist others. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing. I think that's a great analogy for life and for management. So I try to take care of myself so I can take care of others.
That's fantastic. It's so true too. Boomer and I talk about this a lot when he obviously coaches our executive team at the company, and then as a benefit to all the employees in the business. We have in the last couple of months transitioned to, Boomer, let's have our coaching sessions while we ride on a Concept 2 bike at the CrossFit gym, because it's like killing 2 birds with one stone. And then we quickly move to the sauna for 20 to 30 minutes where we pick up conversation.
My hat's off to you, because I don't want to be trained by Boomer. He scares me.
It's good. Talk to us a little bit about the ride, because look, you're passionate. You guys raise a lot of money. Let's talk about the riders. What does the event look like? How did it begin? I know Kyle Petty's involved. Talk to us a little bit about just how it works, how it functions, what you guys get out of it. How we can donate. All that, et cetera.
Yeah, so annually, and I should say that the Kyle Petty Charity Ride is the largest cumulatively, is the largest donor to Victory Junction in our 19-year history. So annually, the charity ride is getting together, picking a route, and these folks, right now, actually, I know support vehicles are heading out to Salt Lake City. Motorcycles are being transported. People are riding their motorcycles out, but they'll all converge on Salt Lake City and spend a week riding a route throughout the West this year, and raising money and raising awareness for Victory Junction and our mission. And so a day-to-day ride. Boomer's got it made in the photo van, up front, and kind of casually. I say casually riding. It's a very, when you put that many vehicles, that many cars and motorcycles in a caravan, I'm in the PR van in the very back. So Boomer's ride up front is nice and 55 miles an hour, nice and smooth, right? Meanwhile, in the back, we're yo-yoing. We could be doing 90 1 minute, and we could be doing 20 miles an hour the next. It's just.
You probably have a cloud of exhaust you're breathing in the entire time.
It can be intense sometimes, but you've got this caravan, and we're going from one spot to the next.
So where are you going? Where are you going in 2 weeks? You start in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. So this year, this is where I'm terrible. I need a cheat sheet. I know we're going to Tonopah.
Yeah, we're going to go from Salt Lake City. Going to go to Tonopah in Nevada, middle of nowhere. We're going to have a day off in Tonopah. Then we're going to go to Las Vegas. Maybe you've heard of it. Spend a day there. Then we're going to go up to, I believe, Cedar City, Utah, and then Moab, which would be beautiful, and then finish in Salt Lake City. So that's kind of our route this year.
And I think you got it spot on. I have that's the only thing I've got it saved in my weather app. Boomer's right. I show up and I just do what I'm told and then try to help out as much as I can. But, we'll ride city to city. And when we stop at those cities, there's a number of celebrities that ride along. We got Kyle Petty, you've got Richard Petty. Kenny Wallace this year, Herschel Walker, former, Heisman Trophy winner, several folks in NASCAR will ride along. Rick Allen, a commentator with NBC. So a number of those folks will ride along with the guys, and what they'll do is we'll run a fan line for fans to meet the celebrities, and we have a chance to talk a little bit about Victory Junction while we're riding. Obviously, the media will come out, speak to Kyle about that type of stuff, and myself, and so just spreading the word about Victory Junction, and here's where that really translates into our camp. Typically a camp will have a footprint that is regional, local, or even regional. Ours is more national, and I think it's because of the charity ride is a big part of that, because we serve kids from all 50 states and 4 different countries. And it's from the work of the charity ride and some other NASCAR endeavors, I believe, that allow that to happen. But, the charity ride is a big part of that. And so we'll do that 3-4 times a day until we make our way to our next city. Some of those are gas stops, some of those are lunch stops. And then we get to our next city. And again, there's a stop there where the fans can come out, greet the motorcyclists. I mean, it's certainly a sight to see 120 motorcycles and all the support crew that are with us. And but it's just a chance for us to talk about camp and to raise awareness about camp and the need for this. These kids need camp now more than ever. These are kids that were already isolated pre-pandemic, and now they're even more further isolated. And so this is the kids need camp. And so this gives us a chance to talk about that and get kids aware about, okay, this organization exists, and how can I get there?
That's amazing.
One of the things that's cool about being a nationwide footprint is campers come out to the ride. So here we are, we're in the middle of nowhere, and here comes someone who went to Victory Junction Camp. And it's amazing because it really ties in like, oh, this is why we're doing it, right? Sometimes when you get, away from in the middle of nowhere, you feel like, oh, why are we really doing this? And then it really anchors the effort. So that's a really cool moment. It happens several times through the ride. Campers and their family will come out and greet us.
Yeah, and now we have some kids who are planning their vacation around the charity ride and how to get there. So I think that's one of the things that's happening this year. Is one of our campers that's coming out is they planned their vacation after they got the Kyle Petty charity ride schedule so they could be a part of it. And for me, I just want to be there and to, cause so many of these riders all pay money to be a part of this event. And then we raise money along the way as well. I just want to be there to make sure that they all know how much we how much we appreciate them and thank them for their efforts and their promotion, their advocacy of camp. I mean, this takes a village to provide this service free of charge. And our village is big, and thank goodness we have a large village. And the Kyle Petty Charity Ride is certainly a big, big part of our village and helping us do what we do. And so I just go out and do everything I possibly can in order to make sure that those riders, those campers, and anybody who comes out, those fans know that Victory Junction appreciates them and their support.
So I just wanted one last point about camp that I think sometimes gets overlooked. We talk about the kids, right, and their ability to do things. But let's talk just really quickly about the parents, right? What they actually get out of their kids going to camp. Like, what are some of the things you hear from the parents?
No, I think that's a great point, Boomer, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I think there's a couple of things. So in our family weekend program, like we'll have this weekend, if you have a child with a medical condition, you got to be thinking about, let's just say they're in a wheelchair. You got to be thinking every single day, you got to think about where are we going and is that going to be accessible to us? It's just a small example. There are probably many, many other things they've got to be thinking about just to execute a day. So they come to camp, they don't have to worry about any of those things. So we know who's coming. We know what modifications need to be made. Those are all made in advance. They show up to camp. All they've got to worry about is reconnecting as a family. And so that's the beauty of the family weekend. And so the parents would say, hey, we didn't have to worry about dietary needs. We didn't have to worry about accessibility issues. We could just focus on getting back together as a family and reconnecting as a family. And then certainly in the summer camp setting, you talk about, folks dropping off their most important thing in their lives, their child, to us who has a medical condition, and they know they're going to be safe. And then they get respite, So I'll talk about this ripple effect. So the campers certainly get a lot out of camp, but the parents get so much out of it too. And that's the ripple effect that you just asked about. So if it's respite, I'll give you a quick story, and this is actually a board member now, but the first time they came to camp, their child they'd never been separated from their child ever. In fact, they sleep with a baby monitor. She's 14 now, probably 6. Actually, she just aged out. She's 17 years old now, but they sleep with a baby monitor because she has a condition that if she has a seizure, it can be life-threatening. So literally when she comes to camp, she has a nurse that stays up and sits next to her bed, stays awake all night and watches her. So that's how severe this is. The first year they came, it took them about 4 hours to be comfortable with the drop-off process, usually about an hour and a half, 2 hour process. It took them 4. Wow. And the second year they were here, I in fact, they were on my radar to be a board member. So I wanted to make sure that I connected with them. And before I could get down onto camp to see them, they were already on their way out. They were here for 30 minutes. And I asked them, I said, you guys just got here. Where are you going? And they said, well, we're going on a second honeymoon. The first year they not only stayed here for 4 hours, they thought they were going to get a phone call every night to say, hey, come pick your child up. We can't care for her. They never got that phone call. Well, the second year they planned in advance a honeymoon. Not only were they, leaving camp and leaving the city, they left the state and, went on a cruise. So, that just tells you the power of that respite that is needed for those family members and what they go through.
No, it's so true. That's really special.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Very much appreciate it. It's an incredible thing you're doing. Please keep up the good work. And please, if you don't mind, tell our listeners where they can go to donate if they feel inclined.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to donate to victoryjunction.org. And there's a donate now button right there on that homepage. But again, thank you. And thank you to the Kyle Petty Charity Ride. I know we're going to play this to those guys, but just thank you guys for the opportunity. Love what you're doing. Love to be a part of it. And it's an honor. Honestly, it's an honor for me to be a part and blessed to be asked to be a part of this. So thank y'all.
Well, yeah, it's an honor to have you on. So without further ado, I am John, your co-host. I am out.
I'm Boomer. I'm also out, but you can follow the Kyle Petty Charity Ride on Instagram. So just look up Kyle Petty Charity Ride and follow that and you may see me. So I am Boomer. I am also your co-host and I am out.
You can go out too, Chad.
I'm out.
Thanks for listening to the Next Level Hustle podcast, where we help you accelerate what you already know to the next level.
If you'd like to support the podcast, consider sharing it on social media, subscribing wherever you listen, or leaving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll see you next week for another Next Level Hustle conversation. I'm John, and I'm out.
And I'm Boomer. I'm also out.